This is Stir. If animals could talk, all the animals in the world, and they could speak and you could understand them, which animal do you think would be the most fun to have a conversation with?
Absolutely great question. I would honestly have to say I would jump to the buffalo.
The buffalo?
Yeah.
Is this a C12 thing?
It is.
The buffalo, tell me why.
So buffalo, I'm a big believer in buffalo culture, but in general, their instinct is to come together, right, as a herd when an impending storm's approaching, and they run through the storm head first. So just that mentality in life, I think, is just a beautiful representation of what I try to embody and what I try to also, convey to my team. Yeah. And so just understanding like who and what, and what goes through their minds and when they're doing that, and where that instinct came from would just be fascinating for me. I mean, I just really do. I am very much so a big fan of the buffalo, without a doubt. Yeah,
I remember hearing this when I visited C12. That they run toward the storm and through the storm rather than turning and trying to run away from it. I love that answer. That's the first time somebody said that, awesome. So I'm impressed. Okay, one more important one. Who pays on a first date, Ryne?
Ooh, me.
All right, cool. Yeah. That's cool, man. My answer is always whose ever idea it was, but probably was your idea to go out in the first place, right? Exactly. It's always been the case for me.
Definitely.
So, okay, cool. So, tell me, Spirit Movers.
Yes.
How long has the company been in business? And then how long have you been at the helm?
Excellent. So we've been actually in business for 40 years.
Okay.
My father started it in 83, and we just celebrated last year, 40th anniversary. Yeah. So it was about a year or so. I'm recently new at the helm, but it's been an incredible experience. He created a wonderful company with just an incredible foundation and grew it from basically an office in the back of his house, one truck and a couple guys, that he would hire to do local moves into what it is today. And we've really created a great reputation and culture there. And that is something that I'm extraordinarily proud of.
That's really cool. So a year at the helm, what made you go into the family business, so to speak?
Yeah, that's another one. That's another great one. I was actually in school getting my master's degree in cybersecurity and computer science. So totally different field. Yeah. And I always say just, that's that proper transition right into the relocation industry, like most people do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's the usual path.
It's the usual path. So, I had worked there through college, right? During the summers and when I was, not in class. And originally, I didn't have any intention of going into the business. And one thing my father always told me, he's like, I don't expect or want you to ever think that I expect you to come into this business. And I just want you to do what you want to do, what you're passionate about. Yeah. And although I'm fascinated with computers, the underpinnings of technology, not just using it, but understanding how it works. As a kid, I used to, break down computers and rebuild them and just was like fascinated by that. Yeah. But I didn't feel like I was going to have the fulfillment that I desired from sitting behind a computer and monitoring networks all the time. Sure. There wasn't face to face. There wasn't that, you couldn't see the impact of the service that you're really having on the end user. So it was just like this calling I feel like I had. I have always viewed myself as somebody who I believed could be a great leader. Yeah. And being able to have this platform, have this opportunity to come here and to steward all the information and knowledge that I've obtained throughout my years to the staff and the teams at Spirit Movers who already had a great foundation. That's really what pulled me over. I tell people all the time, I'm not a moving expert. I'm not like, although I've done it, right. Growing up, I've been on the trucks. I've done every aspect of it. It's not like the reason why I came to the company. It was because of the culture. It was because of what I saw, the potential and the vision of where we could take this. Yeah. And then the people, and just to see and take that bar and raise it higher in this, next generation, if you will, for the
it's a different generation. So you're going to deal with challenges that your dad didn't necessarily deal with.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Man. Yeah. So coming into an organization where the culture is already, the foundation of that culture is already created.
Right.
Like, what are your thoughts on, or how are you going to improve upon something that's already great? Do you have any insights on how you plan to do that?
Definitely. And I've been at work doing that over the last year. To me, that was the biggest aspect that I wanted to focus on. Everything else I believe will come as a result. The work, the bottom line, the growth of the business itself will come from a genuine, truly bought in culture from the team.
Yeah.
So although the company already had a great record, I mean, we have people who have been there for 25 plus years, both not just in the office, but actually in the field, which in our industry is pretty rare because a lot of companies burn and turn employees, use them up, and then, then they're tired, they leave, or they treat them like a number.
They go to another
company. So for having a majority of the team members already like that, I already knew that was a great sign and it wasn't really outlined the culture before. It was just genuinely there from my father, the founder, right? Yeah. He led that way. My idea was to bring it to the surface to where this is what everybody knows that we live and breathe, right? So, our code of conduct definitely represents the Buffalo culture, without a doubt. But there's a lot of other aspects that we bring as redefining the mission statement for our company. So our mission is that we move more than just your belongings. We move people by serving our customers, managing our jobs, and leading our teams with a greater purpose.
Okay.
And we teach everybody that this shouldn't just be on the wall like a lot of mission statements are, in businesses. This should be in the hearts of every single employee. So I actually have a challenge, especially for the new hires, but even the ones that have been there for many years, since this is a relatively new mission statement, that if you can memorize it and recite it in front of everybody, that there's a bonus, there's a reward there.
Oh, okay.
Because
it's
again,
it's
an incentive. Yeah. And I just wanted them to know that's how important it is. And it's a pretty significant reward because, again, if you just see it on the wall, if it's just there to be there and it's not being lived out.
No, nobody's living and breathing it.
You might as well not have it, right?
Yeah.
You have to be living and breathing it.
Agreed.
So anyways, so that's just a taste, but that's like the intent, the intentionality that I'm bringing for the culture. And there's a few other things, but that's what I'll leave it.
It'll work. It'll work. We're pretty close with the folks over at Axiom Business Consulting. Shouts out Devin Dash. And he has always talked about, if you have this wonderful culture in your company, and those team members are then dealing with your customers and your clients on a day-to-day, they're going to live and breathe that. They're going to take that with them and provide a better experience. But in order to get that end experience, you got to start with the culture. So I love that idea.
Yeah.
With the idea or with the notion of, folks on the team being on the team for 25 years, right? I don't know how old you are, right? But like I'm 41. If I was taking the helm of a company where a guy or gal had been on the team for 25 years, that would be intimidating. Like there would be a challenge. So talk to me about, I'm sure you have to address your team as a team, right? I'm sure you have to lead meetings, you have to lead functions and things like that. So talk to me about those first couple of meetings or interactions where you're at the helm and you have to be a leader for these guys who are veterans on the team.
Another great question. I 100% agree. There was that sense of just how are they going to take it? They've been here for so long. I'm younger coming in here, even somebody who might not have been there that long, just that almost reverse of roles of the stereotype of like, somebody at the helm being older, than they, was definitely a bit, intimidating in the beginning without a doubt. But, what I really believe is that, moving in and showing them that I care about them, then they will look at me as somebody who they will be willing to follow, right? I don't always have to have the right answers, but I have to be present. And I believe that goes so much further than coming in using, go for delegation and just saying, go for this, I'm going to change up all these systems rather than using stewardship delegation where I can actually focus on the results and give them the opportunity to use their innovation and their creativity to get to those results, as long as they're abiding by our values and principles.
Yeah. Yeah. So pouring into them rather than pouring into, a gopher mentality. I've never heard that, but I like that. Go for this, go for that.
Exactly.
I'm reminded, my first adult job, full-time job was in a factory, and I was a floater, but they called me the gopher. Cause hey, go for this, go down to the storage, go for this, go for. I like that. So you're pouring into them, and I bet they buy into the fact that this guy at the helm has my best interest in mind. He's pouring into me, and they can be fulfilled in their day-to-day and their roles.
Absolutely.
I say all the time to entrepreneurs, like when it's your business, no team member is going to love it as much as you do.
Yep.
It's your baby. But if you allow them to use their talents and their skills that they have in their role, then they can be fulfilled in their role, and they can love it as much as possible.
Exactly.
By doing that. I love it.
Yeah.
On a more personal to you rather than the business. Like, I find that entrepreneurs generally are regimented in certain things, morning routines, work-life balance, things like that. Yeah. So, like, do you have a morning routine that you follow right now?
I actually do. Just recently I finished up 75 Hard. Have you heard of that challenge?
No.
So it's pretty fascinating, but it's pretty hard, like the name indicates. But so there's 5 main things that you have to do every single day. And if you miss one of them, you have to restart the challenge from day one. So 75 days in a row. One of them is drinking a gallon of water a day, which is extraordinarily difficult. That was probably the hardest thing, because 128 ounces going to the restroom a lot. I'll just leave it at that. The other one is reading 10 pages of nonfiction, at least 10 pages. There's also a 30-minute workout indoor and outdoor every day. Okay. And then you have following a diet, and that could be whatever diet you're looking at doing. It's kind of up to whoever the challenger or whoever's taking the challenge is. And then the last one kind of is something that I tweaked. Typically it's taking a before or a photo every day of the progress of of yourself, your physique, and how your mental fortitude is kind of being tested through this. But I chose to get up an hour to 45 minutes earlier every day and spend time in scripture and in prayer. Okay. And so for me, that was something that has been very important for me, and I've carried a lot of these things on into regular everyday life. They became habits, right? Yeah. So that is one of my routines. I don't drink the full gallon of water anymore, because goodness gracious, that was...
I feel like you're swimming.
Exactly. But I still drink way more water than I did before. So a full gallon or a full jug of water before I even get out of bed in the morning. I do the 30 minutes of prayer and scripture in the morning, and then I have been doing the workouts. I cut them in half, though, not 30 inside, 30 outside, just doing 30. But again, I've been carrying on that every single day. And that's usually my morning routine before I get out of bed, because I feel like that resets my mind every day. You know what I mean? It gets me ready to be intentional about what I'm going to do in the day.
Intentional about what I'm going to do. Yeah. When you're intentional, when you leave the house and you're intentional about what you're doing, all those things that are on your list, whether they might be, it might be this huge list. Yeah. You're intentional about everything you're doing. And so this list, this is nothing. This is nothing. Yep. I know exactly how I'm going to accomplish this because you have that intentional mindset.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay. A year at the helm, not a new business, but new business for you, right? New
for leadership.
Sure. How do you manage the business side of your life with the personal side? Like this work-life balance thing, is this important to you? How are you managing that?
It very much is. It is very important to me. Being at the level of, the helm, if you will, is something that you never truly disconnect from, because you have to always be available, especially in our industry when there's jobs happening outside of hours or even over the weekends and, out of state. You got to be ready or able to, if there's an emergency, and our, operations manager might not have an answer for it. You have to be able to react and be able to respond to that. But kind of ties back into what we were talking about before, and recently talking about scheduling priorities rather than prioritizing the schedule, right? Sure, yeah. So a lot of times, if you just keep in this business mindset, it can travel with you outside into, your regular life. But to me, focusing on what matters most, that isn't always just the important and urgent things that are happening right now from your business, emails, calls, texts, putting out a fire, if you will.
Yeah.
Focusing on the roles that we have as human beings. Being a brother to my sister, a son to my mother and father, great husband to my wife.
Yeah.
Those are just a few, but sometimes those get put in the back seat when you're at the helm, right?
Yeah.
Because you're constantly
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
So making time each week to tend to focus on, to spend time in those areas helps a full balance happen within the week. And doing that on a consistent basis allows me to never feel like I'm off balance, because I'm scheduling those rather than letting them fall to the wayside. And then a couple weeks, couple months, couple years go by and you're like, goodness gracious, I've left these to the wayside.
And it's too late.
It's too late.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I like that. I'm the same way. I had to schedule, and I remember the first time I started to schedule personal time, schedule time with my wife, schedule time with my daughter. I felt like they're not a project, you know what I mean? But it's the only way to get it done. And in fact, by doing it, we put things in our schedule and we're regimented about those things because they're a priority.
Exactly.
And so by doing those things, we're giving respect and prioritizing that time with those individuals.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
Yeah. You do what you believe, and when you believe that those are a priority, those are values to you, you're going to make time for it. And what better way to do it than scheduling the priorities?
That's right. I love it. So you're a member of C12.
Correct.
I know that. How long have you been a member of C12?
Actually coming on 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that you love the Buffalo mentality.
Exactly.
But over the last 2.5 years, can you tell me about the impact that C12 has had on you and now on the business?
Yeah, it's been a game changer in my opinion. There is so much wisdom from all the different CEOs or business owners in those forums that you can just come to them with any sort of question, situation, problem, challenge that you might have, and somebody's going to have some form of wisdom to share.
Sure.
And the beauty of that group to me, beyond some others, is that they will also walk with you through the challenges of personal life too, and pour in that sense. Seth is the chair of the forum I'm in Lakewood Ranch, does an absolutely phenomenal job at keeping everybody accountable and continuing to pour into not only us, but encouraging us to pour into our businesses, right?
Yeah.
We believe that, we believe in creating a business as a ministry, if you will. So, from my perspective in that sense, I try to tell all of my team members, and I embody this myself, and actually we're going through a growth curriculum on this exact topic called being unoffendable, choosing to be unoffendable.
Okay.
And I know sometimes some people think that that's almost impossible or not even a choice, but you can choose to be unoffendable. And I mean that to say that regardless of what happens to us in our lives, whether it's business, whether it's personal, we have the ability to choose how we respond to things, right? Rather than react to them. And when that is at the forefront of our mind, again, waking up every day, I tell myself that I'm going to be the most unoffendable person that anyone will ever meet. And I use that as accountability. I love to ask people, hey, if you see that, or if you ever see me acting in that way, you call me out. Because guess what? That is one of my biggest goals, if you will, for the company. For me, I want that people to come to us and see and sense that. But essentially that comes from the C12 idea of, again, building a great business for a greater purpose, and not just doing that with internally, but making everybody that you come into contact with feel that.
Yeah, you pour into them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that mindset. I've said for a long time, you mentioned earlier, like putting out fires as the person at the helm. And when you're the person at the helm, you can't look to the left. When you're the COO, you're the manager, whatever, you can look to the left. You can look at a business owner or whatever. When there's a fire, but when you're the guy or gal, can't look to the left. You got to put the fire out. But I love the fact that you've got this group, C12, that you can look to the left to, even though they're not the leader in your business.
Right.
They'll walk through it with you. I think that's really cool. Shouts out to C12 and Seth.
And Seth, yes.
Okay. It's 2024. Talk to me about the future, 2026, 28, 2030. Where do you want and where do you want Spirit Movers to be?
So one of the things that I was wanting to bring to the table is to pivot a bit of our business line. So we've been solely in our history focused on residential relocation.
Okay.
Now, in the commercial sphere is something that I'm very much so looking to break into and take as much of the market as possible, as quickly as possible in the coming years. And when I say that, I'm talking what we consider integrated workplace solutions. So it's not just the relocation of the physical things in the room, but in a sense, when the building's being turned over, holes need to be patched on the walls. There needs to be broom or vacuum swept. It needs to have lighting taken down, signs taken down, and doing all of that plus to make sure that we're a single hand to shake for that client, right?
Relocation.
So whether it's a decommission or relocation of the business or even opening a brand new facility, store, hotel, whatever, we would be the ones to receive the new product, bring it out and install it, or expansions in the same sense. So we really want to be that one-stop shop, if you will, for the commercial business world when it comes to anything needing to be either, again, relocated, moved, decommissioned.
Nice.
So that is the future. That's where I see us going. Never going to leave the residential side, but that has much more potential, the business to business side of it, as far as long-term big projects. And it just seems right. And it seems like a parallel business line that we can definitely, capitalize on here, especially with all the growth.
All the growth in the area.
Exactly.
You've got this reputation and this skill for residential.
Yep.
And then there's all this business growth here in South Florida. Right. Why not capitalize it? Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And you could take, sure, it's a different animal. Sure. But all the principles and things that you have implemented for residential still apply.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate the time today. I really appreciate you sharing your story with our audience.
Definitely.
Thanks for being a guest.
Of course. My pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
My guy. The most valuable asset that you have as an entrepreneur, as you know, is your time.
Yes.
We appreciate you sharing some of your time with us. So we just have a little gift just to thank you for your time.
That's incredible. Totally unexpected. Really grateful for that.
You can go ahead, man. Yeah, you can go ahead. It's our pleasure.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's incredible. I love that.
Old fashioned.
Old fashioned right there. And the glass too.
Yeah, man.
Incredible. You guys are too much. I appreciate that. That's amazing. That's I'm beyond grateful.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course. Thank you.